Hello, it's another episode of StarrCast Podcast, and Lisa Starr here with you today. I'm really excited to talk to someone who's been a colleague for a long time. I've gotten to know her more in the last, 5 or 8 years, and she's awesome. And we were recently at the iSpa conference, which we all go to every year, all the spa folks, and we were briefly meeting at a lunch table, and I talked about the podcast, and I got a whole swarm of words in response. And I said, all right, I have to have this woman on. So I'm happy to introduce Lisa Jacobs. Many of you probably know Lisa. She's been a spa consultant for more than, 20 years, I think she said. Plus, just like me. She is the principal of her own company, The Collective Well, and she also does consulting for Tea Leaf Spas and Blue Spas and all, great, exciting spa concepts all around the place. But Lisa has a very, really refined outlook on health and wellness that comes from her personal journey, which I asked her to tell us about. It's something that started to happen to her when we were all together at an iSpa conference in 2008. Is that correct, Lisa?
That is correct, Lisa.
So we were at the iSpa conference and we all heard the news, which was
that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I heard from my doctor while I was at the Venetian in my hotel room.
Wow.
And yeah, like you said, word spread quickly. And I, thanks to the wonderful friends that I have, they packed me up and put me on a plane, and I went home, and I started my journey of the big scary C word of treatment and discovery and really healing. At that point. And during that time, we were in our industry, we were in a difficult time of, we had a huge economic crisis that was hitting. And so it just felt like the lights went dark for me for a while at that point.
Understandably. So that was 14 years ago. Tell us a little bit about your initial bout with the cancer and when you started to come back online for consulting.
It's interesting. I think back to it, and I think because of what was happening economically and in our industry, it was just like a natural pause. So I really was able to focus on my self and health. And then as things started to kind of heal economically, and I was healing, I naturally started to do work. I did a lot of concepts, super blessed and fortunate to be associated with Blue Spas. They really supported me during this and sent me work whenever I was, ready and willing and able. And so it really felt like I was not out of the mix. I was really they included me. And so I felt like I kind of always worked during that process at my own speed.
It's awesome that you were able to kind of keep one foot in the door while dealing with your personal health issue.
Yes, I mean, it was important to me to keep connected to the community, which I love so much, and to work on projects that had got me out of myself. And I was really passionate about. And there's just a lot of healing that needed to go around, like collectively.
For sure.
And so I was happy to be a small part of that.
So tell us how you are now. I mean, I've spent time with you recently. I know you still have some side effects from medications, and how would you describe your health currently?
Well, excellent.
Good.
That's what I'm putting out there. And it is to some extent. I was re-diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer a year ago. And so up until that point, cancer was in my past. I really didn't consciously think of it. I think unconsciously, I was always kind of, looking behind me, that grim reaper, kind of like, oh my gosh, that fear base. So I was re-diagnosed. after finishing one of my favorite projects that I worked on through my own company and in Pagosa. And at the very tail end, I had a tremendous amount of pain and didn't know what was going on. And the healing nature of hot springs helped me kind of manage that for a while. And then all of a sudden, the house of cards came tumbling down and I was diagnosed with metastatic. So that was a year ago. I'm in treatment, great team of doctors, working with, on an integrative level with some other practitioners, and really working on my kind of where I'm focusing my attention now, and really owning kind of energetically where I want to be in the future and living it now as much as I can.
That's awesome, Lisa. I mean, there's nothing like a crisis of any sort to make us kind of focus on what's actually important to us. And it's, unfortunate that that was the way it happened for you, but good that you're able to be so positive and look forward. And well, how do I use my time?
Yeah.
So we were talking about, the size of the industry is always a topic. And we look at the global wellness economy numbers that come out. And, we all heard that, especially in the spa sector, that we took about a 40%, 39 or 40% hit in 2020 from the closures, started to claw back. Many spas are currently well above their 2019 levels. And that was the best year we'd had, right? So many have rebounded. We're expected to continue to grow through 2025. We're supposed to hit big numbers, but with big numbers comes big business and other changes in this industry that, you and I have been in it so long. We were small. We all knew each other. I mean, there wasn't a ton of money to be made, but we all loved it. And it's different now. And now you have this lens of looking through a health perspective and a healthcare perspective that I thought it might be helpful to share what you're seeing and how it makes you feel.
Great question, Lisa. It's been super confusing for me for a long time. And I think mainly because I had these questions. The way my brain works is I like to kind of lift up the hood or pull back the curtains. I'm super curious. I tend to hear, some subtle messages through the noise, and I like to pay attention to that. And the spa industry, the wellness industry, coming in from spa and then going into this evolution of wellness, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of fun noise, a lot of loving noise, a lot of healing noise. But then as things started to get louder, and you mentioned the multi-trillion dollar industry that the wellness industry has become, and the focus on bottom line, I felt that I was getting lost in this noise. I was starting to be disillusioned, starting to go, what are we doing here? Everything is under this guise of wellness, whether it's from Botox to slimming, to clean eating, to fitness, to beauty. And I just felt like, are we creating, this is where healthcare comes in, the healthcare industry, are we creating more problems, maybe unconsciously or as a business model, and in order to develop solutions to sell? And so I just felt like we were looking at wellness more as a product as opposed to a service.
As a process.
Yes. And so I really was trying to understand, like, okay, how can I personally show up in my professional world with integrity, asking questions, being a voice? And Lisa, I honestly was struggling because I didn't want to be that kind of Debbie Downer or like, hey guys, why are we doing this? What is our ultimate, mission as people, as businesses, as kind of stewards? And the pandemic and my health crisis, really coming out of that really was a wake-up call for me, just recently. And so the questions that I was asking, and then you and I speaking at iSpa, I I started to get these hits, kind of like how opening up the hood or pulling back the curtains of like, what is being said now about wellness? Well, I started to hear the toxic nature of wellness. Is wellness actually making us sicker? Words like orthorexia, right? I don't know if you've heard that.
I haven't.
It's a clinical definition right on par with bulimia and anorexia, but orthorexia is the obsession and focus on eating healthy and
funny
and the obsession of those health standards that you have to hold yourself to in order to be well.
It's so American that we get so wrapped up in it that now we have a word for it.
I know. And so these words are coming up, and then books are coming out. This woman, Carrie Kelly, who's an activist and founder of Citizen Well, she's coming out with a new book in June 6th, I think it's launched. It's called The American Detox, and truly all about the wellness industry and about how exclusive it is and about the inequities and about the, basically white, wealthy women, right? And so I started thinking, this is the opportunity to be able to have these, as an industry, to be able to ask some difficult questions and really have, dig deep and explore, what does it mean to be well? And, how can we as an industry create standards of care and ethics that ensure that we're intentionally and responsibly providing our guests, our staff, with the best possible products and services and offerings. And
that sounds like a tall order, though. I mean,
no.
I think what you're saying, Lisa, is let's re-examine what is it that we deliver, right? I mean, you mentioned the morph from spa to wellness, which is, absolutely has happened. I mean, we saw the Global Spa Summit become the Global Wellness Summit. And, I don't know about you, but projects I'm working on now that are maybe a spot, they're core, but there's a lot of other things going on that we didn't have 5 years ago, and which is fun. It's great and we can reinvent things, but are we going to get lost, and lose our way? Like, what is it that we should be providing? What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a really good question. I mean, we've, Lisa, that evolution. I started in holistic health. My master's is in holistic health education. So I really came from this kind of mind-body connection, kind of the whole being, and I was in grad school and it was awesome and I got a lot out of it, but I still didn't even know what that meant. Right. And so then the spa comes out of that. I actually got hired out of grad school to start working at a destination spa. And
as what? As a therapist?
I was actually as an instructor, a fitness instructor and hiking guide. And then I did that for a number of years during my graduate work. And then I change of ownership, renovation, which was my first renovation into kind of like building a spa. I was new ownership and I was hired as a GM. And so I worked as a GM for a number of years there, went to Banff for my first ice spa, met Carrie and Doug and Tara and some of my dearest friends. How many years ago?
Oh, I know. I was pregnant with my son in Banff and he's now 24. So 25 years ago.
25 years ago. So then spa, it's like now we are introducing this whole new word and everything becomes spa, from fitness and health. This has been going on for a long time, but fitness, health, holistic studies, holistic education and health, and then spa for a long time. And then, I call it the Italian beauty shift, like the Italian beauty. Remember at Ice Spa when 1 year it was all Italian beauty and you're like, who are these people? And then the next year they're gone.
Right.
As like the corporate evolution of spa. And then of course we go into wellness. So back to your question though, of like what it is that, for me, the questions to ask about the industry I'm in, and what is it that we can do to kind of, when the rubber hits the road, that we're going in a direction that is in service, really, is doing what it is that I think in our hearts want, is to create a greater sense of well-being for our clients, our staff, our community, and hopefully the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So pulling apart this word wellness, just like we did with spa became a building, right? Spa became a building. So now what is wellness going to become? Is wellness going to become the next healthcare? Like, are we going to lose sight of, is it a pay to play? Is it that wellness is about solving problems, about perfectionism and aspirations, and quite frankly, fear? Is it about staying safe or not looking like you're older, or these kind of, so really looking at the industry as a whole and kind of pulling it apart. I mean, the major drivers of wellness is fitness and health and nutrition and beauty. Like, those are like the top things,
sure.
Right? And so just because you can afford to get the green juice and go to the hot yoga in your Lululemons, when you walk by a homeless person, which is becoming ever more present of this inequity, right? Are you truly well? Can you truly be well? And that's what I want to ask, is like, not so much defining what wellness means, but more to the point of, what does it mean what is total well-being, like collective well-being? And that's
as apart from personal well-being.
Personal. Yeah. I mean, if you look at like how healthcare has evolved and how wellness has informed it, this is the good, amazing part of wellness, is we really started talking about things that were taboo, like mental wellness, right? Fiscal wellness or financial wellness, social wellness. How cool. We have these great new spas that are opening with these kind of communal spaces where people can come together. And so there's so much good that comes out of our industry in like meeting the real needs and understanding the meaning behind these needs, right? So what happened is with healthcare, they took the cue from wellness, and then they started calling a lot of their benefits wellness plans, right? So now a person's going down the menu. I just did it with my son, who started a new job, and his wellness plan options. And this is how much it's going to cost. And this is like, if you're afraid you're going to get really sick, and if you're going to like cut your arm off, and like all of these things, right? That's under wellness.
So they have the health insurance all under the wellness benefits now.
There's no prevention.
Really?
No. I mean, okay, it's buried in there. But my son's not going to go like, you know what? I'm working hard. I'm lifting all this stuff and my back's starting to hurt. I'm going to go to the chiropractor or the massage therapist and get some body work, right? That's not covered in his plan because he's young. He's not going to pay a tremendous amount for his plan. So he's going to get the bare minimum. Right?
So what else is in there besides what we always called health insurance?
Major medical. It's just like, if you have to go to the hospital and you're going in an ambulance, you'll have to pay $2,500, and then everything else is like half off or whatever.
So his wellness benefits were really just renamed healthcare benefits. There was no additional incentive for exercise or eating right or any of those things.
Right. Yes. And, I honestly think that, the intention behind these wellness plans and corporate wellness plans are really good. One of my best friends is a human resource specialist, and she really, I mean, it really is it is a strategy. The healthier the employees are, the more they work, and so it does help the bottom line, right? If you've got healthy employees.
Sure, they're more productive. They don't miss work for sickness. They have better energy.
So that's where wellness really worked, as far as the message for more of a kind of a collective wellness approach of like looking at how can companies really help support their employees to live a better life, to live healthier? Dan Buettner, Blue Zones.
Mhm.
That was a great, he's done some small project, kind of beta tests in Minnesota, I think it was, that he did, a small town, and brought in the concepts of the Blue Zone, eating, lifestyle, community, faith, passion, all of that, and brought it into the community. And the metrics were amazing of how smoking cessation,
Really?
having better food in the grocery store, more accessible for a community. And
How quickly did it affect change?
I think that they did it for a year. I looked at this study so long ago, but it just struck me as this, to me, this is wellness.
Right. We're helping people lead better lives, but we're not making them come somewhere to do it.
Right. And they're not feeling like, this is the other thing is with the wellness industry, is you've got this kind of aspirational, kind of pay to play type of culture. And then you've got people that are like, I can't do that. Like a friend of mine, I want to eat healthy, but I can't afford those protein powders with all the collagen in it. They're so expensive, Lisa. And I said, well, have you looked at ways to eat more protein, like through the food that you're eating? Or, and so she's feeling like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. Most of the public is like, that's them, it's us and them. And that, to me, is the wellness part. That's the most important part to me, is the we. And that's why I named my company The Collective Well.
Good reason.
Yeah. And I certainly went in with a certain mission of actually creating a business model that is focused on providing opportunities for spas and wellness facilities and product companies to have a larger, more collective impact on wellness. And then I get sick, or, and so really on the heels of the pandemic and iSpa, I was just, and talking to you, I just made me think, what is it that I want to, affect? Or how do I want to show up in my industry, in my world, personally and professionally, that is inclusive and is based in, the amount of influencers out there. That's what we've become. The wellness industry is like a bunch of influencers. I don't want to influence anyone. I want to support people. I don't want to have a problem in order for them to buy my product as a solution. Right. So I'm trying to formulate that offering, that direction. So I'm doing a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of talking, a lot of listening. And I'm excited by it.
Well, certainly there's potential there, but we have to think about the practicalities of it. As consultants, we work with spreadsheets and numbers. And when someone comes to you to create something, they generally want to know, can I make money at it? And not if they're not interested in being a millionaire, just, can I cover my costs? Is this a business that can sustain itself? And so we're used to looking at how many square feet are deployed and how, and what will the revenue per hour be, and the average ticket, and what will the retail be, and what will the labor costs be? And so it all does come down to numbers. And we're not able to measure our impact on the community, right? Or like, well, what's the ROI on making everybody around me healthier in the next year? That doesn't go into the business plan. And so the result that we've seen has been, wellness is so popular. Everybody wants to be well, part of wellness. Pandemic definitely fueled that. It's things we've all been saying for years, but now we got their attention. And now you see bigger businesses moving in and buying other businesses because they want to be in wellness. And yet why? Because they see money. right? It's not, and they'll say all the nice things like on the TV commercials, like the insurance companies do. We want to be there for you until the second you have a claim, and then they want to deny you first thing. So, where do we go? Like, how do we navigate this near future of attention on creating revenue while we're thinking, wait, is that really what we're supposed to do?
Super question, and it's a big question, and
Right.
And I think there'll be more questions than answers for a while.
Yes.
But what comes up for me when I think about, my responsibility as a consultant and to the client and their bottom line, right? And we can have the conversation about the top line, right? So, but what comes up for me is that by classifying us as an industry, right? Is that, for me, is that just becoming yet part like a machine, right? Of like the supposed to, the shoulds, the right words, the expertise that you come in and that, you are as a consultant or as a spa director or as a product rep, that really you're there to make money, right? And to keep it open and sustainable so people can work and people can come and feel good, right? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. But for me, the question is, are we doing more damage than good? Okay, so yeah, we're making money. Is the healthcare industry being driven by, that you can't buy an insulin drug, right? Because of the cost is prohibitive. But we're going to market it all over the TV and it's all about the bottom line. I don't want to be in an industry that looks at things that way. And maybe it's just the word industry. I want to create, like, if you're going to talk about wellness, then what does that really mean for me and to going in as a work as a consultant, keeping that always in the forefront of like, how can we create solutions for our clients and for our client, for their clients that can really have a true positive impact on their life and their well-being. And I promise it's not going to come in a bottle. It's not, we've got amazing healers that put their hands on people and help really in that moment have profound experiences. The focus on where we put our energy and our time and our talent and resources. I mean, training, it's a joke. People talk about America, particularly the lack of money that is allocated towards training and support is crazy. It's so low. And as a consultant coming in, I can say that all day long. Listen, let's support and train, right? And this will benefit your staff. It'll help them feel good about what they do and honored. And then the clients will really benefit from that. Well, no, it's about the bottom line.
Right. Well, you have owners that say, wait, I'm hiring licensed therapists. Aren't they trained? Why do I need to invest in more training?
Right.
But it's not like getting your driver's license, right? I mean, things change. There's new technologies and new techniques, and you want to keep up. And to your point, it feeds their passion to be with others that do what they do. And even if they didn't learn a new thing we could make money from, they were re-energized by their craft.
Yes. And, Lisa, I think if we can just really do for me, I've been doing some soul searching of like, where do I see myself? Like, what kind of, where do I want to play here? Where do I want to put my time, treasure, talent, right? All of that. And what makes me feel good? And there's in my research, it's kind of a new approach to wellness. It's kind of the Nielsen IQ. I don't know if you ever follow them. they did a whole report on like the hierarchy of needs in spa and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really now an upside down triangle. And at the very top of it, the kind of the base of the triangle upside down is protection and safety. That's
right.
like,
So like Maslow's turned upside down.
correct. And then there's aspiration, you know, kind of wanting to be able to be part of it. And then there's I think preservation. And then you go down it. But what I thought about is like at the base of this triangle be flipped over, are we contributing to this like fear-based of like, if you don't have this, then you're not going to be well. If you don't buy this skin care product, then your skin's going to look like crap and you're going to look old and, you know. And then at the very point of this triangle is where I'm interested. And that is going into prevention and going into altruism. So there's a whole term called altruistic wellness. And really where it comes down to is the need for these people in altruistic wellness is that I feel better when I'm of service. I feel better when I give back, not just going and giving money and volunteering your time, but really connecting with people, really understanding that's your staff. Like we talk about training, that to me as an owner is being of service to your staff. I promise you in F&B, they're not going to go on and just like give them a day training and put them out there in a 5-star, 4-star restaurant, right?
Right.
They're going to focus on this appearance and how they're trained and the service standards of that. Well, you've got naked people on a table, and these healers. You've got all the power at their fingertips, right? Let's elevate that. Let's take responsibility and be accountable for that, and be of service. And I think that's where it has hit me of being a product, wellness being a product as opposed to a service, the highest level of service that we can offer. And
well, it sounds like you're thinking we should create a model where there can be services with products, but there can also be a community aspect as well that's not so exclusive. I mean, how do those two coexist in one roof? Have you had any thoughts on that?
Lisa, they coexist whether we know how to build it or program it or not. We are all connected, right? So they're always existing. The question is, are they going to exist for the higher good or the lowest common denominator of like, right? So this is for me is the acknowledgement that we all need each other, right? We all want to be, the pandemic was a perfect like inflection point for us of like, holy crap, I can't wait to hug someone, right?
Right.
So as a business model is acknowledging, baking it into that we cannot, the amazing thing about some of the great consultants and developers and owners, their vision of coming into communities and really, authentically connecting with communities, that sense of place and really kind of wrapping their arms around the community as part of their business model. To me, that is the beauty of going to a place and going, I feel connected. I feel connected with the place and the people. Baking that into their model, no matter if it's an urban environment or you're out in this gorgeous, tropical resort spa, is that really honoring the people in the place. And I think starting there for me, then again, Lisa, you have these conversations with owners and they're like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
And then I get to choose, like, do I want to work with these people? Right. And I got to get really clear on that. It's like, I got to walk my own talk. I got to call out the hypocrisy in an industry that I love and people that I love. But I got to call bullshit sometimes, And I think that training and honoring the level of talent that these people bring and their passion, providing them the freedom to be able to do their work without being totally protocoled to death. Combining community programs that give back in a way that's not just, once a year or 1% back, or, I don't have the absolute answer.
No, well, none of us does. That's why it's worth discussing.
Yeah.
I want to talk on a small tangent now about something that I know you've been involved with, and it speaks to wellness and sustainability, and that is the Green Spa Network. I mean, that you've been involved with them for a long time. Can you say how that has helped you frame your lens on how we do well for the planet as well as the people around us?
Yes, it was a really wonderful network and founding mission that I was able to really learn from and embrace. And it really was about this collective. It was like, we can't be well if the planet's not well. Well, honestly, the planet's going to be just fine. We're going to get kicked off of it, right? So really, we're all connected. And I've always, really embraced that. The one thing that became very clear to me during my time with GSN, and I'm not as connected now as an emeritus, but is that it's important in our industry and in our mission to not be really focused on self-sustaining ourselves as a business. It really is what our mission is. If we can go out and affect change for the people, the stakeholders, the people that we are there to empower and to connect, like in Green Spa, going out and empowering people to plant trees or whatever it is. If our mission is, hey, we just have to survive as an organization and get more members and get more sponsors, right? That's our general focus. And then we've got to kick out some content in order to, kind of be relevant. I'm not interested in that. I'm not. And that goes to, and so I think they've done a really good job of kind of creating some very tangible benefits. And it's always a work in progress. But what I did learn is like where to call bullshit again. Like, hey, I'm not interested in giving all my time and energy to something just to exist.
To substantiate its existence.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started to go like, hey, that's the same thing with my industry here with spa. I'm not interested in just being a spa consultant in order to make money and build beautiful buildings so really wealthy people can go and spend a ton of money and feel crappy later because they spent a lot of money and they still have a shitty life at home, right? And they feel shitty about themselves. Excuse me, I'm swearing on your podcast.
It's okay.
But I'm really not interested in that. Lisa, I tend to do the work anyway because I want the money. Okay. So that's the hypocrisy. Maybe that's too strong.
Nobody's perfect.
Yes, it's confusion to me. I'm not living truly, like authentically the way I would, in an ideal version of my life and myself. So really what it's taken for me is some opportunity to step back and get some clarity and baby steps, right?
Right. Well, think about it. We go into a project with the best of intentions and great ideas, and you have that moment where you have your vision session and we're storyboarding things and it's all like, oh, it's going to be great. And then, of course, when you start putting things on paper and we don't have room for that, we can't afford this or that. And they sort of get distilled down into some more commercial version of what was originally intended, because money has to be made again at the end of the day. So somehow we all have to find a way to move forward, not maybe sideways, right? And feel like we're progressing and bringing wellness to the masses, but the path is not clear, as you said. And I want to speak also, let's talk about resource partners,
Mhm.
vendors who sell into the industry who obviously have a thing, a product, a support, a tool that we use that they want to sell into spas, so we can either use it to create revenue or resell it to our end customers. I mean,
Mhm.
do you think that they feel the same way that we do, or do you think it's just a commodity? Maybe it's both.
I think it's both. I mean, I think there's, listen, I'm not here to like, everyone's out selling snake oil, right? In that we're, a bunch of hypocrites and charlatans, right? I think there's some amazing um products out there, technology, really good people that are doing, the research and the in are ethical, and they're coming from the right place as far as I'm concerned, um and then there's the noise, then
Mhm.
there's, and that's like that in any industry, right? It's
True.
really difficult, and I think part of our responsibility is, whether it's a resource partner or the spas or the consultants or the trade industry of our industry, is that we continue to kind of keep us kind of on our toes, being honest, looking at what it is that we're offering up under the guise of wellness as a way of um, connecting with the consumer. And that's not about influencing them so much as supporting them,
Mhm.
and to me, that's where I think we've gotten off track, is we really, these influences that are out there. Like I said, I talked to a friend of mine today with some human resources, and she's really struggling with her diet. And she's been watching all of these influencers on, to the stars, and they're pitching products, right? And
Because that's
so
how they get paid.
that's how they get paid. And we've got product companies they're looking for, and they don't know what the heck they're talking about.
Right. They have no degree in nutrition or fitness or any aspect.
Right. Or you've got these like 12-year-old models that are talking about anti-aging products and putting injections on their face, right?
Right.
So come on, we can do better than that. And maybe just keeping those questions of like, so what is this? How does this really, like, what is your research? What are the facts? Really talking about how it really is impactful in a positive way for the consumer. And it's not something that and what are some of their options? Like, what if somebody can't afford this,
Mhm.
right? Like my friend who was like, God, I can't afford to buy this protein powder. Like,
Right.
I can't afford that $200, $300 serum. It's so confusing to the consumer. And it's all about perfectionism. It's all about inequities and exclusion. And I think that we can do better. There's going to be some part of that, but there's got to be a balance here.
You're right.
And the pendulum is swinging. It is going from this fear that we have perpetuated and bought into and marketed and developed products for. And then it's swinging to, hey, supply chain is automatically helping us like, oh, I don't really need that. All right. Or I can't get that. So what am I going to do? You got to get creative. You got to get like, I think for us as an industry, I'd like to be able to be more trustworthy. I'd like to be able to know that I can support somebody and that they can trust that I'm going to give them the best possible solution or options that suit them, and not just what our industry promotes.
Well, it's a challenging spot we find ourselves in, because we've been laboring away trying to spread wellness and the word about how taking care of yourself has a positive impact. You feel good, you have better energy, you have better relationships. And now we have all this attention post-pandemic money comes in, and influencers peddle wellness who don't know what they're really saying. Maybe they know a little, but they're not based in years of experience or training. And to your point, it creates sort of this toxic cycle, right, of everybody wanting something that's getting ever more exclusive. So, what do we do? How do we try to avoid that? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, I think that it's happening in that I think there is a bigger, whether this is because of the pandemic or whatever, I think there's a bigger focus from me to we, right? I think that there is more of a focus on how we can do better, right? How we need each other. So I think that's just the pendulum swinging here. Self-care, is swinging back to kind of that collective care, collective wellness. So I'm really happy to hear that more and more. So as far as, it's a really good question, Lisa, because while you were asking the question, I was thinking about what industry or what is a good model to look at?
Me too.
Who has done that?
I couldn't think of one.
I know. And I think there's always, where there's money, right? Energy follows attention, right? Money is energy. And so if our attention is really about the bottom line, a lot of our energy is going to go to that, right? And we're going to be in that survival mode of how can we keep our business running? How can we be relevant? How can we grow and expand, for very practical reasons, as well as, some really kind of altruistic, hiring people, providing people with jobs. So there's always the yin, the yang, the positive, the negative. So I think really kind of looking at what it is that is motivating us as a company and what our mission is, and really being clear about that you can be able to answer those tough questions of what does this mean when it's a wellness? I like to ask these people when at the booths at iSpa, how come you call this wellness? What does that mean? We know the definition from Global Wellness Institute or the Webster Dictionary, right? But
now we've got wellness mattresses and wellness, bug spray and
wellness everything. Right. And honestly, I remember spa, right? Oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden, wellness, vitality, what words can we use? And sure, it's marketing, it's PR, it's buzz, it's looking at trends. But I think if we can step back from the noise of it all and really understand what are the needs of our guests, our clients, or the consumer, and how are we driving this behavior? Are we driving their behavior in order to sell products? Yes, of course, but are you okay with that? Is that the sole reason that you're doing this? Or why did you start this? Why did you come up with this product? Why did you bring this technology to market? What positive impact are you want to bring to this industry, to the clients? And I don't know, Lisa, I've really tried to figure this out, and I know that it's there and in kind of grassroots. Honestly, Lisa, what keeps me up at night is why are we as an industry not affecting policy changes? Why are we not on the steps of the Capitol just fighting for people's right to access to healthcare? Why are we allowing little children to get killed in elementary schools? Why are we walking by people you need to break down the camp because we don't want all these homeless people around my little yoga studio?
Right.
How is that wellness? And as an industry, forget about the products and the beautiful hotels that are being built. The industry as a whole, as a trade, right? Of what are we doing in order to make this a better world for people?
Well, Lisa, these are really good questions for us to ponder. And, there's not a clear answer, but I like your point of it's not a building, it's not a thing in a bottle, it's a way that we feel. And while we recognize that the facilities that we create are businesses that have to remain profitable, so they employ people and help people feel well. But what are we doing beyond that? And thinking about community and volunteering and sort of affecting the world in a bigger way. I think this is a great conversation, and I hope it spurs people to think a little more deeply about what is it we're really doing.
Yeah, because honestly, whether they're being asked the question or not, this is ultimately what the consumer is going to want, because it is swinging. And in companies, whether you're a product company or a destination or a consultant or whatever it is, you better be prepared to be able to stand behind what you're doing, and to be able to look at what it is how you can be of greater service to your clients. And that includes me as a consultant, right?
Me as well.
Yes, everyone. Asking these questions and having the conversations that are really difficult. I mean, when I talk with you about this, Lisa, I'm quite aware of hey, I'm in an industry with these people that I really care about. And there's a lot of great work that's happening, but that's not enough. It's not enough to just go, I'm going to just shut off the noise a little bit, because the consumer is going to go what are you talking about? Just like fat-free, Oreos, right? Just like all the different trends. Collagen is going to be off the shelf, at least not taking up so much shelf space in the next few years, right? Just like quinoa and acai and everything else, right? So I just want us to know that no matter what we think we have control over, we really don't. And whatever's true will stay, and whatever's false will fall away. And I just want to be on that true side.
Well said. Well said.
Working hard to do that.
Well, thank you, Lisa Jacobs, for joining us and bringing your unique perspective on the situation to, where is that pendulum now? And let's not let it get too toxic before it swings back.
Yes. And, my soapbox is right here, but I'll get off. No, but start looking at Googling toxic nature of wellness. Start really, as in this industry, start doing a research of not just we're a multi-trillion-dollar industry and we're growing. Oh, yay. Tell our owners or development groups this. Then we can justify ourselves, right? Look at what is being said out there. What alarms are being, rung, and get in tune with that, because that to me is the pivot. It's going to be the pivot. And that triangle of hierarchy of needs is going to go from being so scared that you're going to do something wrong to, I want to be of service, and I feel so good when I help other people and I give to them. That's an awesome business model. So that's the one I want to be part of.
Sounds good to me. Let's make it happen. Thanks again for joining us, Lisa Jacobs, and be well.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. Take care.
You too. So, Lisa, in closing, we've talked about this dichotomy of approaches. I mean, we're all in wellness to make money, of course, but to do good as well. I mean, how do we resolve that within ourselves to go forward?
Well, I can only just come from personal experience right now, and just kind of that soul searching, or really kind of clarifying, going through the health crisis that I've been going through. And then of course, pandemic. I really have been focusing on what I call coherence of, and I've done a lot of work on kind of quieting the chatter and really connecting with what it means to connect my heart, my passion, kind of my loves and it with the head, the mental side of things, of like the practical nature of making money and consulting, and the kind of the more ego based. So that coherence of kind of the mind and the heart is where I think the industry can really learn from, is like finding like that beautiful heart coherence, that kind of baseline of where we come from in this industry of healing and positive energy and really great intentions, to that kind of mental business model that we are all focused on, right, in an industry, and really connecting those two and finding some coherence here and some balance. I think we could really benefit from that, both personally and also as an industry.
That's great advice, Lisa. We should all listen well to your hard-earned perspective as we move forward.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And it's like you said, I think baby steps. And I really feel that for me moving forward, the people that I want to work with, the companies that I want to align myself with, I'm really going to spend a lot more time listening to my heart and really coming back to that. And that also includes, clarity around my personal environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love going into businesses where I feel like there is a connection, and I really believe that is a level of coherence, and the noise starts to quiet, and things become a little bit more simplified and meaningful. So,
well, consumers are looking for that too, so we need to keep that in mind in the industry.
Absolutely. And you know what, we think that we can affect change and drive kind of the behavior, the consumer behavior, but really, it's, I love the anthropological study here, like just socially what happens in the industry, and who drives it. And do we want to perpetuate the driving need of fear, or do we want to perpetuate the driving need of giving back? And that's that head heart balance, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'm scared to death, I'm overthinking things, to like, I feel connected. And so finding that balance personally and professionally is my goal.
Well, it sounds like should be a goal for all of us. Thanks again, Lisa Jacobs, for joining us today.
Welcome. Thank you.